You all.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready. All right. Good evening, comrades in risk and safety. Once again, we're here, and it's been a month. Last month, the month of May, we were not able to have our monthly meeting and CPD presentation because of the Eid holidays. But anyhow, I made sure that today, month of June, although there were a little bit of a communication issue, we're supposed to have with us a good friend of ours also, our member, Saif Sialdan, to give a talk, but there was an issue about communication. So I stepped forward as usual, so I can share with you another interesting topic for tonight. And the title of this presentation is Awareness on IMS Leadership, Principles, Framework, and Processes. So the title itself, my friends, maybe is already not a new subject into your ears anymore, but I just wanted to um, put things together so we can take a look at some of the things that we've been practicing. But the issue is what's in the leadership, and how can we put leadership on top of this management system. So that's why I put the title Awareness on Integrated Management System Leadership Principles, Framework, and Processes. So welcome everyone. And if you have some questions, you can put your question on the chat box, and every once in a while I'll check if there are questions raised. And by the way, don't think that I'm really the authority in presenting this topic. You can help me also. If you have something that you can contribute, put it in the chat box, and we will also read your input so that everyone can listen to that. As you all know, this is our organization, and in our organization, we make sure that everyone is encouraged to speak and to contribute for the sake of risk and safety. So, welcome everyone. And what's in this presentation? It's basically all about a management system before integrated management system. What are the benefits of integrated management system? What are the ideal IMS? How does it work? And managing the risk of integrated management system. And also I will put a little bit more of on leadership and commitment in IMS, and we will also talk a little bit about risk communication. And at the end of my presentation, there will be a brief update on as to what's happening with the brands. So um, bear with me for the next 40 or 50 minutes. But I'm really excited to give this talk to you. Although I've used this presentation, I just removed some of those that are not really necessary for you to hear from me. But I gave this presentation as I was invited by a friend to deliver this in their company, I think last month of May. So before we talk about integrated management system, let's first look at a management system. What is a management system? It is basically a framework that has been proven already, wherein we can manage and we can continually improve. I know some of you are familiar with the word continual and continuous. So if someone can raise that question or someone can contribute to that, we will talk about continual and continuous as part of where we are in risk and safety practice. So wherein we can continually improve as part of the organization on our objectives, our programs, plans, policies, and procedures. And the management system aids in the alignment of strategic direction of the organization with the day-to-day operation. So I want you to take note here of the word day-to-day operation. You can see here strategic objectives, and of course, day-to-day operation. We all know that when we talk about strategic objectives, there's something that we really want to achieve. But in relation to that, how do we operate our business on a day-to-day process where we can align everything and the key objectives are being delivered in a consistent manner, and we ensure that all the processes are controlled, in an effective and efficient mode. So again, another two things here that you will see: effective and efficient mode. So this is what a management system is all about. A framework. It's been a proven framework where in our organization we manage things as aligned with our strategic objectives, but we're looking at the day-to-day operation in a way that processes are controlled. Of course, when we say controlled, there's a buy-in from the top management. Whatever the top management wants us to do, as middle managers or managers, we bring it down to the people at the front line, and we make sure that we are effective in terms of um, executing what we need to execute, and the execution comes up in an efficient manner. So what are the importance of a management system? If we have a management system, it basically drives our efficiency. Things that we can do uh, produce a very good result in a very short period of time, or in a very reasonable period of time, then it drives our efficiency. And also, if we are already in compliance with things that we need to comply internally or externally. Externally, perhaps we are internationally certified by a certifying body in terms of one of our management system. The more that it gives beauty to our compliance, because we are looking at two things: inside, in relation to what needs to be complied outside, so we can maintain our certification. And also, management system provides outright controls of risks that we are able to identify. And of course, um, the different stakeholders that are involved in our operation, they improve, they get what you call this, the buy-in from the stakeholders, the more that they get impressed, and of course the satisfaction goes into the next level. And also, as an organization, it uplifts our reputation in a way that we are managing our organization in terms of health and safety. We operate in more number of hours with less lost time injuries, with less delays in our time frame, and more so in decision making. If you have a very good management system, the decision making for sure is getting support from your robust management system, from a very good structure. So these six importance are just some of the many importance of a well-structured management system, because we can say that maybe an organization has its own management system, but it's not obvious because of the culture that has been developed internally. And so at times, the behavior of the people reflects the way a management system is being exercised. And there are some components of a management system. One of the components is its strategic alignment. So part of this also is also about mission, vision, and core values. I will talk to you a little bit about that as well, as I have embedded that part in this presentation. So our alignment must have a strategy. So when we say strategy, it is what we are trying to look ahead of us. If you're talking about health and safety, are we just looking at zero lost time injuries? So that's what we're trying to look ahead. But how about the benefit that people would get from it? Like, for example, you may be very strict in implementing your health and safety plans, policies, and procedures, but you don't get a good result where your people are left out in terms of their health and well-being, then strategic alignment is of a question. And also policies and objectives. Of course, when we say policies in health and safety, policies must be in a conspicuous place that where people are seeing it. But there are other policies. There are other policies in some organizations that policies are not really that visible to people, but they are being applied, monitored, and the compliance is measured, because that can also be
Para,
part of
pare,
our leading indicators. Process management in terms of how things are taking place within the organization, and how do we manage them, particularly in the involvement of the people in the relationship, in the operational value, and the operational value and the operational elements. And performance measurement, we were talking about indicators, and indicators can be leading and lagging indicators. And also our compliance to what? Compliance to, of course, the law of the country, the law of the municipality, for example, environmental laws, what else, safety requirements, and how are we managing the risk that are within the system. And continual improvement. So as I have mentioned earlier, continual improvement is a very important thing that we need to look at as one component of the management system, because this has something to do with your strategic alignment. Now, within the management system, of course, is also your um, what you call this, continuous improvement. So I'm using two terminologies here: continuous and continual. When we talk about continual improvement, we start from point A and we want to reach into point Z, but within point A to point Z, there's also the continuous improvement. We need to assess and reassess our performance, because there might be some gap that we're not able to move on from point A. We are not getting to a point J. So how can we reach point Z if we are not reaching point J, or Juliet? So we need to go around the circle. We need to look at our continuous improvement so that we can move on for the continual improvement as part of our strategic alignment. So now, um, more on the integrated management system now. Um, as I mentioned, a management system is a proven strategy, but adding the word integrated, it means that there are a number of management systems that are being embedded together as one package, and it becomes a unified approach to managing the business operations, programs, plans, policies, procedures, and objectives through a combination of multiple management system under one rational framework. So I am thinking that right now you are already thinking of something when I talk about integrated management system. But um, without talking about commercialism, I don't want to mention about international standard, but let's just talk about management systems that we know of, as we are not talking about certification here. An integrated management system is an absolute necessity so we can streamline our operations and we can enhance our efficiency. So if for example, our issue is environment, and then how does it correlate to the health and safety of the people, then we can consider that environment to be integrated in another management system. If we have issue about data protection, what management system are you going to integrate into your existing management system with regards to data protection? And other things such as health and safety, mental health and well-being. So perhaps you can already have a bird's eye view on as to what I'm talking about of integrated management system. So the key principles of integrated management system is that we have a customer, or our terminology, as we are so particular with, is what they call the stakeholder focus. So we're so particular with the stakeholders in our organization. We have internal and we have external. Our internal stakeholders are those people that we consider as parties who have interest in our operation inside. Like for example, the different departments that's that may be may affect us in health and safety, or those other departments which may be affected by us. Okay, so that's what we talk about stakeholder focus. So we need to, in terms of management systems, that we want our stakeholder to be also aligned with our business operation. We need to give our attention to them. Like for example, if our internal stakeholder is our supply chain, and we are the people responsible for safety in the environment. How would you work with the supply chain in terms of abiding or adhering to the environmental policies that we have within the organization? So you need to identify that stakeholder, and then you need to pay attention to them so that they can comply with. And so we cannot just set aside the issue on environmental safety, leaving it with other people. But of course, we need to establish a management system so that we can manage this subject. Also, leadership. How would you want to operate your business if we in the middle management system are not connected with the people up there? So the question always is that if we are in the middle management group, how is our connection with the people above us, so that we can translate the message from the top management down to the people at the front line? And that brings us to the next principle, which is people involvement. So nowadays, I'm not really very sure if how familiar are you with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So DEI is also one big subject right now, where we involve internal and external stakeholders. Within the inside of our organization, we also need to put attention to inclusion. Okay, it's not only that the supervisors or the foreman or our safety officers are the people that we will be dealing with, but of course we need to deal also with people outside of the sphere of those who are involved in risk and safety. And also the process approach. How is our process in approaching a management system? Like for example, how do you develop your educational program? How do you differentiate training and education, and how do you establish knowledge and skills? So this is part of a process of a management system, wherein from one management system to another management system, we combine them together, and then we come up with a single process approach. And also, again, a repeated subject about continual improvement. Do we stay where we are, or do we not set our time frame so that we can say that over a particular period of time, we will be able to achieve the result of the management system, looking into the other principles aligned or embedded within what we want to do. So these are the principles of integrated management system. Now, the most important thing that we really need to bear in mind is to let the organization be aware of how does the business operate. And basically, the business operate with the people inside, okay? And also with the people outside as external stakeholders. And then our equipment, our materials, and our environment, and our organizational arrangement, the organizational structure, our plans, procedures, processes, our objectives. So this comprises business operation. And regardless of the management system that we want to implement, this five elements are so important for every management system to be aligned, or for these elements also to be aligned with the strategic objectives. And when we talk about understanding the context of business operation, competence is a very important requirement, because people need to be skillful in every management system that we have. People needs to be knowledgeable, and people must behave as a result of having the right attitude towards a management system being implemented in the business operation. And we cannot just say that at once we have provided the training and education, but it needs to be a continuous part of our process, as part of the improvement process. And of course, initially we get people with experience, and over time we are also developing the experience of people inside our organization. So this might be a repetitive subject about people, equipment, materials, environment, especially for those who have undergone international safety courses. But if you will just come to realize that all of us, our lives revolve around these elements, we can easily say that yes, every time I think about these elements, I become more familiar with how the business operates. Because if you talk about risk and safety, for people, there's always risk, there's always safety issue, more so with equipment, with the materials, and with the environment. And of course, if people are not particular with the organizational arrangement, like for example, organizational structure, and then the programs, plans, policies, and procedures, then of course the business operation will surely be affected in other ways. So another thing that we need to remember is, of course, the stakeholders or the interested parties who may be affected or who can affect the business operation. And this has something to do with also with the competence requirements of our stakeholders or interested parties. So now, among the different quality management system, here are some suggestions where we can have a comprehensive framework combined together to come up with the multiple management system as an integrated system, and we create a unified approach to our governance, to managing the risk, and to our compliance. So these are just some of the example, as I was mentioning earlier: quality management, environmental management system, occupational health and safety management system, where nowadays we are so concerned about mental health and well-being, information security management, business continuity management, and potentially other systems such as energy management and food safety. So the choice of the organization as to which of these will they adopt, so that they can come up with the management system and they incorporate them into their into their business operation. It's up to the organization. What I'm trying to point out here is that these are the examples of management system that are available, and uh, align our strategic objectives with. And how does IMS work? Of course, it's basically all about alignment of processes, procedures, and objectives. So, for example, I want to achieve um, zero LTI in the next 6 months. So, which management system do I need to combine together, having the same processes, procedures, and aligning it to my business objective? And of course, this will streamline business operation, and this will eliminate duplicative efforts, and this will also enable efficient resource allocation. Over a short period of time, I will be able to achieve something because I know how do I establish my objective in a smart manner, and also knowing my strength and my weaknesses, and then also finding out what are opportunities that I can explore and what are the threats that I need to manage within the confines of my allocated resources. So in this way, by integrating these different systems, the integrated management system will provide an all-inclusive view of the organization's performance, and it will allow for better decision making and continuous improvement. So again, I'm using the word here, continuous. So in other words, if my business think about a circle, and inside the circle, in my business objective is a profitability. So how would I achieve profitability if I have not established the management system that I would be aligning together in my strategic objective? So again, I will not be able to reach a certain destination continually if I am not looking into improving my process continuously. This is what we're talking about here of continuous improvement. With the integrating of different management system, what do we get? We get an improved business focus, and then we are able to manage various risks within the system, and then we establish a very good collaboration with other management system, uh, irrespective of who is in charge of this, and then also we reduce duplication, and then we become effective, and the result is the efficient use of resources and audits, because instead of just auditing one management system, for example occupational health and safety, I can also audit environmental management system, I can also audit quality management system, and thereby decreasing management cost, and it will increase cultural compatibility, because the more management system there is, as long as people are competent enough to handle these management systems, the more that you establish um, a, uh, a single risk-aware culture within the organization, and it becomes also easy for you to provide continuous improvement, and it becomes more beneficial to the operation, and then your business image externally gets better, and with that, people who are outside of your organization and who affects and gets affected by your business operation, the more that they get satisfied, and if people are satisfied outside, then of course your employee also they get motivated, and their motivation get enhanced. So this is what I really love with talking about integrated management system, because you are seeing not just internal uh, picture, but the entirety of how the business operates from production to consumption. And this is just an example of ideal integrated management system that I guess you are already so particular with, but I'm not just really sure if some of you have already been integrating risk management to the most common ones, which are quality, environment, and occupational health and safety. So for me, risk management is very important, because you have risks that you need to look at with the occupational health and safety, you have risk in your quality, you have risk in the environment. So how will you manage it? So without risk management, well, allow me not to say without, but with risk management, the more that you will get to see a clear picture of how will you manage your three different systems, having the principles, framework, and processes of risk management system. And with that, um, we we can go into managing the risk of IMS, where we can identify the risk, we can assess, and we can prioritize them. Of course, we are so familiar with the definition of risk, which is the effect of uncertainty on objectives, whether it's positive or negative. Um, at times, we focus on negative risk, which we consider as threats. because this is where we need to pay attention to, putting our controls in place as mitigation, and thinking about further control measures that would further enhance our controls, and that would prevent adverse effect. But on the other hand, there are also things that when we consider negative risk, we can also look at the good side of this and translate negative risk in your SWOT analysis. If you look at the threats, you can look at the threats and consider them also as opportunities once you have provided mitigation control to them. So risk can come from uncertainty in different avenues of business exercise, such as financial markets, project failures, legal liabilities. Of course, the finance group, they can talk about credit risks. For the health and safety, they can talk about accidents, incidents, variations, occurrences, and also natural causes and disasters, as well as deliberate attacks from let's say adversary, especially when you talk about competition, or when you talk about infiltration of information within the organization. So, operationally speaking, the likelihood that hazards, if not controlled, can result to damage to assets. So, I'm mentioning here the word hazard as part of risk domains within the organization, particularly when you talk about safety. So, who would be affected? Of course, there will be harm or injury to the people or damage to the environment. Now, I've mentioned about risk management in on top of the three different management systems, and I also want to emphasize this a little bit. Why? Because when we talk about integrated management system, leadership and commitment is very important. And so I'm just using this from an international management system, because I want you to look at this framework, principles, and processes. We're not really going to deal with every element of this, but just for us to have an overview. And in the next meetings after July and August, if you are interested to have a specific topic as bite-size talk during our meeting, then we can talk one of these in a more in-depth fashion. So um, in leadership and commitment, first of all, the most important thing to remember is understanding the organization and its context. We need to really understand how do we define internal and external issues, and understanding how important are they when it comes to our purpose, when it comes to our strategic plans, and that how would it affect the ability of the organization in terms of achieving its goals. So our context can be determined if we are to apply analysis, particularly SWOT analysis, and factors that would affect the way we run the business. So two very good tools to use here are PESTEL factors and SWOT analysis. We can look at um, geopolitical situation within uh, the country where we are in, and how would the business be affected by politics, and of course the economic situation, the social factors, the people who might be the end part of the business, the customers, and internally also, of course, when we talk about social factors, the people within the organization as well. Initially, because eventually we can develop a particular culture from within, that we can say we are able to establish a society within the organization that we are not worried about the impact of this factor anymore. The technological factor, how are things happening right now with all of this Internet of Things, with all of this machine learning, and of course, legal compliance, environmental aspects as well, especially when we talk about reportings, uh, in terms of environmental, social, and governance. And of course, SWOT analysis that we will be able to discover our strengths. We can look at which part of our business operation are we weak, what are the opportunities that we can explore, and what are the threats that we need to pay attention to so that we can put a mitigations on this and we can translate threats as opportunities. And all of these are for the purpose of strategic planning or risk tracking. So in our organization, it's very important for us to become so familiar with mission, vision, and core values. Mission is um, what do we want to achieve. Vision is where do we want to go, and the core values are how do we make our organization, what makes our organization become worthy of becoming an organization. So that's basically what's mission, vision, and core values is all about. How do we operate from inside. And I mentioned these operational elements already because this has something to do again with the organizational setting. So in terms of leadership and commitment, this is basically the framework of management system. So the leadership and commitment is always at the core of every management system. Now, when we say leadership in every management system, irrespective of the type of management system that we are to exercise, there has to be leadership by example. So, for example, how you as an organization would consider to be environmentally friendly if we cannot lead others in terms of sound waste management, in terms of becoming environmentally friendly, not printing documents anymore, not making use of technology. So of course, we need to lead by example. And then sound decision making. At times we make bad decision, but at the onset of every situation, and if you are to delay your decision making and only to find out that the decision that you have made is still a bad decision, I would rather have it unintentionally a bad decision at the right time rather than a delayed correct decision of which the result has already affected the business operation. So in other words, we need as a leader, as leaders, we need to always have sound decision making. A well-built team. So how do you build your team? Of course, we are familiar with the process of team building. We are so familiar with the what to call this a social interaction among each area of the operation, like for example people at the supply chain, people at the finance. So in terms of leading a management system, we also need to strategically plan as to how are we going to lead the organization. And of course, communication from top to down and feedback system from down to up is also very important, that would make our communication process clear and transparent. Whenever a communication is translated or brought down without people getting involved in feedback system, then communication becomes a commanding way of communication. It does not become a friendly communication at all. And of course, for every management system, leadership should always think about continuous professional development. From where I've started, as an example, if I will start from from managing the environment of the business organization, um, if I want to achieve a particular objective in terms of um compliance, legal compliance to managing the environment of the business operation, how would I look at my process if I have done it correctly? Once you leave point A and then you have already reached point let's say for example point M, and then you will continue to point P, and then you realize that something went wrong along point A to point H, then it becomes difficult for you to again to go back, because you are now somewhere only to realize
Hello,
that you need to go back to
சொல்லுங்க.
point A again. So that's what we mean by go for continuous professional
வெளியே
development.
இப்ப அவன் வெளியில போயிருக்கான், நீங்க பண்ணாலும் எடுக்க மாட்டான்.
Hello, can you just mute yourself, please? Who was that? Is that Vincates? Yeah. Can you just mute yourself, please, so we don't get interrupted? So as I was saying, continuous professional development is very important so that we can pursue our aim for continual improvement. Okay? So before a straight line, let's also consider a circle. Somewhere around the straight line, a circle has to roll. Okay? Somewhere along your continual improvement, there needs to be your continuous professional development. That's what I'm talking about. And that will also take place in your leadership competence, wherein you need coach or you need mentors. So this is how leadership in integrated management systems should be dealt with: leading by example, sound decision making, well-built team, strategic planning, clear and transparent communication by also considering inclusion from people below. We need to get feedback from them, because otherwise it will be the message will come up as a command rather than a communication. And continuous professional development and competent coaching and mentoring. So any questions so far? So let me just take a look at. Okay, yep, so there you go. Thank you for helping me for that reminder to mute yourself. So the roles of leadership is all about modeling a collaborative behavior. So being collaborative, it means that we talk to people around us. Okay, if you are standing in a circle, you are surrounded by people around you. Then we need to be in communication with all the people around us. We need to model this collaborative behavior, and also we need to promote an inclusive culture. If you are a manager, do you know some of the people at the front line? So we need to also involve these people, because these people at the front line, they are the backbone of every industry. Okay, and then we need to become a silo breaker. Silo breaker means that we don't allow each system to operate individually, but we can establish key performance indicators and we can monitor them. And this is what I was talking about: regular feedback sessions. Where do you get the feedback from? You can get this feedback from the people that you are in collaboration with, particularly those who are at the front line, who will um, what you call this, cumulatively produce the result of your strategic objective. Now, this is again another important tool that we can use in terms of leadership in integrated management system. For every management system that you want to implement, take a look at what's your strength, where are you weak, and what are the opportunities that you may explore, and what are the threats that you need to mitigate. So all of these are very interactive. In terms of opportunities, you can look at you can look at the pestle factors. In terms of threats, the same thing. Also look at all of this, because your strengths and your weaknesses are all internal within your organization, whereas opportunities and threats can also be external. Looking at the geopolitics, looking at how the economy moves within the locality, and the sociocultural factors, the technology, and then also the legal requirements, of course, the environmental requirements. So I just want to cite here an example. The image which you have seen earlier is the ISO 31000. Why have I considered this? Because primarily our organization is called risk and safety. So if you may have just safety alone, and you are talking about risk, but the question is, how are you managing the risk of your occupational health and safety, of your quality management, and of course your environmental management system. The solution is for you to become familiar with ISO 31000 so that you will be able to understand the overall process of which your risk assessment falls within. Okay, and we will talk about that in a short while. So to manage your business operations risk, you need to know what is a risk management system. Okay, so the principles of a risk management system needs to be integrated into all business operations and activities. So again, business operations can be strategic, business activities can be, well, not just can, but shall be inclusive. You don't just operate without also looking at the people down at the ground. And as I've mentioned, they are the backbone of your industry. And this is the reason why at times we have some gaps within our management system. It's because we focus only on those people that we want to be working with without considering those people below us who may or may be affected by our business operation. And also another principle is we need to develop a structure, and the structure must cover all the aspects of the business operation. And um, your framework must be able to fit your goals and your context. It needs to be customized, and it should cover everyone. Your scope must be everyone in the organization. And then it needs to be dynamic and it needs to be solid. Okay? You should be able to become scientist. What do I mean when I say we become scientists? We anticipate, we recognize, we evaluate, and we put control. And it's an ever-changing process. And of course, there has to be available information always. When we say available information, we establish a process of development of data, and then that data should be collated and that data should be analyzed so that it becomes an information. And one important thing is don't forget about human and cultural factors. Again, the people element of our business operation, they form the cultural factor of the business, and they are paramount, and they need to be considered at all stages and aspects of managing the risk of every management system that you are applying in your organization. And then it needs to be continuously improved so that we can achieve our continual process of getting to our business goals. Okay, so um, I hope that this is clear with you. If you have any question, then just put it in the chat box. So these are the principles of the risk management system, which I'm put here as very specific to be ISO 31000, and most of us are familiar with the meaning of ISO. It means International Standardization for International Organization for Standardization. ISO is I guess it's Latin word for one. Okay. And when we design and when we plan for managing the risk of every management system, it has to be proportionate to the level of risk that we have identified within the organization. So when we say the level of risk, we're talking about we have already identified the risk, we have already analyzed it, and we are talking about our risk appetite and our risk capacity. And it should be aligned with other activities. So again, here, alignment here is a very interesting thing, because if you're talking about environment, managing our environment, managing health and safety, your risk management process should be aligned with all of these activities, and it should be comprehensive, and it should be part of the day-to-day activities of the organization, and it has to be looked at as a dynamic process, because it keeps in business operation what may be taking place today may not be the same things that may take place tomorrow, but of course, tomorrow and another day after tomorrow, we have a single objective of finishing a particular project. And of course, when you talk about lost time injuries, then our goal is to achieve the project over a period of time without any injury. So these are again the principles that also I have mentioned to you. Customized and proportionate. Of course, involvement of the stakeholders is necessary, structured and comprehensive. It should be embedded in all organizational activities, and it should be comprehensive. And then human and cultural factors, they influence all aspects of managing the risk, and it has to be continuously and continually improved through learning and experience. And what's important here is the six distinct areas that make up the total framework: leadership and communication. And of course, it has to be integrated in all aspects of the business operation. There has to be a good designing of it. Implementation must be monitored, and then evaluation must also be considered, because only in this area we'll be able to see how have we been performing so far, and then taking into consideration if there was a weak area in our management system, how do we improve it. So these are the framework of what we're talking about, and we are now in this process. So this is your process. Irrespective of the management system that you have, you really need this. So let's say, for example, occupational health and safety. What's the scope of occupational health and safety? What's the context? What's the criteria? So now, one interesting thing here is the risk assessment process. Here, in this image, you're seeing the risk management process, but you are seeing a risk assessment. We in the operational aspect, we can extract this process and we can expound this, especially in health and safety. We can break this down into 5 steps, other than the 3 steps here. So we are all familiar with the 5 steps to risk assessment. Identify the hazard and its associated risk, who can be affected and how. We evaluate the risk. We implement additional control measures as required, and then we review our risk assessment according to the established time frame, and taking into consideration new process, new policies, new people, and new laws or regulation. So in the risk management process, we are to establish the context. We need to consider the internal and external stakeholders in the risk assessment. Uh, uh, in the assessment of the risk, as we manage them, we need to look at the identified hazard. We need to analyze them, and we need to evaluate them. And of course, we need to treat. There's a topographical error here. Risk treatment here is not these things here. Okay. And of course, monitor and review, and communication and consultation is very important with your relevant stakeholders. So the other thing that are so important with the integrated management system are the risk-related concepts. Risk, as we've said, the effect of uncertainty on objectives. Positive risk are opportunities. Negative risk are threats, but we can translate them also to opportunities. And of course, issues inside as a result of negative risk, and issues are very dangerous once they are not managed in time. So now, in relation to the risk-related concept, of course, is the concept of managing our risk, and what are the different strategies. So I'm reading here. Thank you, Brother Ahmed. As an integrated management system and ISO certification, what are the recommended certifications to be applied as one package? And how about energy management? Yep, this is a very good. Thank you for this question. You need to find out in your organization, what do you really need. So in your before you go for a package as one, you need to consider things internally. What do you really need? Environment, health and safety, quality, now information security, and of course energy management as part of your business operation, cost effectiveness. So you need to do your SWOT analysis, and externally, as a threat, you need to look at the pestle factors before you can decide as to what are the different certification that you really need to consider. And don't forget that it also has something to do with your strategic objective, particularly in relation to budget allocation. As we all know, we in risk and safety, we are at times we become the least considered group to be provided with funds, right? So it depends on the appetite of the organization, taking into consideration the provision of budget for a management system. Okay. Otherwise, if you have input, you can type it here, and we will take a look at it later on. So, my friends, these are the strategies on how do we treat our risk in every management system. We can terminate it by um, not allowing the activity which may trigger such a risk. We can abort the activity, or of course, very familiar to us is risk transfer by outsourcing or having a third party vendor. But most of the time, it's all about our internal mitigation control. When we know, like for example, in every activity in a construction project, you come up with you require a method statement, and in every statement you need to do also in every task you need also to do a job safety analysis, so that you will be able to see the hazard which may affect the task, and of course you can implement your control measure. Otherwise, if your risk appetite is a well-established risk capacity within the organization, then you can just tolerate, or you can allow or endure the risk at a certain level. So the issue here is the level of risk that you can tolerate. So in integrated management systems, we also consider negative risk as opportunities. I'm sorry for my terminology that I said that we also consider, but we need to consider negative risk to be opportunities for us. Why? Because first of all, if we have risk that may impact our operation, what do we do? Of course, we provide control measure. So like for example, what have we learned from COVID-19? We've learned a lot of things, right? Working from home, online learning. So what did we do? COVID-19 was there. We made it happen, and then we experimented something. Those people who are not really required on site, we experimented of allowing them to work from home. Okay. And then what we have internally is we enhance the process inside by, let's say for example, a safety manager took additional responsibility upon his shoulder to do the job of the administrative task, while some administration people are out. And of course, negative risk can be accepted with no proactive action, so long as that's within the limit of your risk appetite. Now, why are we talking of all of this? Because leadership is very important for us to understand that it is our humane or moral responsibility. Okay? Our workforce nowadays is so diverse, and we need to be inclusive in looking at uh, the social and cultural aspect as to whom do we really need to be working with. Yes, another question here. Should we start with integrating of all systems if you feel that quality, health and safety, and environment are the most important thing that you need to consider? And of course, you need to look at um, what are you, what is what is the law asking from you? Like for example, here in Qatar, we have decree number 17, 18, 19, 20 of 2005. Okay, ministerial decree, I believe. So that's about reporting of incidents. That's about risk assessment, identifying the risk. That's decree number 20. Um, I forgot the others. So I guess the three international certifications here that you are mentioning are the basic ones: 9001, 45,001, and 14,001. Okay. But just a matter of disclosure, I am not connected with these international certifications. I have them myself personally, but the reason why we are talking about this here, it's because we need to make ourselves knowledgeable about all of this international certification. Okay? So on top of this is, as I've mentioned, is you need to make yourselves familiar with risk management process, because you need to manage the risk of quality, you need to manage the risk of health and safety, and you need to manage the risk of the environment. So thank you, Muhammad Al-Alawi, for this question. And also, the reasons for leadership in integrated management system is, of course, the economic reason. Can we allow our business to continue without taking a look at the financial aspect of the business organization? We cannot. And more so with legal compliance. In every country where we are in, there's always the requirement for us to abide by the law of the country. So there are a number of laws that affects our business operation. You have the health and safety law, not just what to call this, uh, not just as compliance, but of course it will really affect us if we're not going to abide by them. So these are the three very important reasons why leadership in integrated management system is very important. Another question from Amin Sbe. Good evening. This is Engineer Amin. Yes, good evening, Engineer Amin. Thank you for joining us. And I'm glad that even if you're from UAE, you are also joining our branch meeting here in Qatar. Your
Thank you.
question is, after we did the risk assessment and we did risk reduction plan, is it necessary to make other mitigation plan? Okay, let me just clarify this. Okay. Um, Mitigation is what you do to control the risk before they happen. Okay? And additional control measure or optional control measure is what you additionally require if in case the risk would come up to adversely affect your business operation. Okay? So how would we put it logically? Like for example, today is the 25th day of the month, and the salary comes on the 30th of the month. Okay? So I should know when I receive my salary on the 30th of the month, I should know that I do not wait for the next salary to prepare my budget. Okay? To prepare for my budget. Before the next salary, I would already need to do mitigation that if in case I have additional financial requirement, I have something that I have in place. If in case before the salary I run short of my budget, what will I do? Then that is your further control measure. Okay? I'm sorry if I'm putting it financially, because this is the best example that we can cite when it comes to risk mitigation and optional risk control measure. So this is what you're talking about, risk reduction plan. Your risk reduction plan is reducing a particular level of risk at hand. Okay? Your risk mitigation is your control measure so that this risk would not reach to this particular level. So In terms of risk management, you are identifying, analyzing, and evaluating your risk. And before you manage that risk, you need to assess the level of risk. If it's related to operation, then follow the 5 steps to risk assessment, putting into consideration the operational elements, of which one of that is always missed out. The last one, which is the organizational arrangement, which pertains to your plans, policies, and procedures. Okay, Engineer Amin, I hope that answers your question. Good. So moving on, ideal leadership for better integrated management system. We've already talked about this. I just consider this as ideal leadership for better management system. But otherwise, it's really the most important thing that we need to consider. So how do we implement leadership in integrated management system? All of us needs to be familiar with policies and objectives. We need to have our individual roles and responsibilities. And don't forget, of course, there are people who may be responsible, but in terms of accountabilities, they will transfer the accountability to other people. Okay? Yes, I'm responsible for reporting, but I'm not responsible for putting controls to what I'm trying to report to. Documentation and record keeping. This is very important because nowadays anyone can just be vulnerable to data breach. Okay, and then of course gap discovery and analysis exercise. You need to once in a while, if you notice that a gap has appeared or was discovered, then you need to do an exercise for this. And most importantly, it's so difficult to come up with something inside, and if it requires budget, and there's no budget allocation. So this is really a very important part of it. Now, in terms of our continuous improvement in IMS leadership, this is a very particular uh, tool for you, the PDCA. Okay, so it's called a continuous improvement because it goes around in circle. You plan, you execute, then you evaluate, you review, and then you act, and then you go back. Okay, so this tool is really very important for us, right? So in terms of what to call this, setting your objective, first of all, you need to understand the context of operation. And monitoring, measurement, and the evaluation of the IMS system. KPIs are very important. Internal and external audits are also important. And then in any way, management review can take place before audits, in preparation for the audits, and continual improvement from point A to point Z, and in between. Don't forget your continuous improvement, your PDCA, before you move on to the next step, and then always look at your corrective and preventive action. So we always say an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So I would rather stop the operation for 2 hours, so I can continue in the next 6 hours, be safe because of the risk that I have discovered in terms of people, equipment, materials, and environment. And competence is very important. As I've mentioned earlier, we cannot just put someone without the required skills, without the right knowledge, and then the behavior is so bad as a result of attitude, without training, and with poor experience or education. So competence is uh, our uh, key way in which organization supports achievement of compliance. So competence is really very important for us. Training and communication is also very important. We all know that when we train people, it involves hands-on session. It involves our hands, so that we can really see to it that what we have learned can be put into execution. Okay. um, Training is based on what to call this, on skills, and knowledge is based on information. Communication is very important. So in terms of communication, don't forget that you bring the message from the top management down to the frontliners. And as part of our inclusivity, we need to involve the people so that we can get feedback from them, and that the information don't get stuck from them without hearing from these people. And of course, our communication needs to be effective because this is essential to employee engagement. When you engage your employee, you gain their support, and then they get they get encouraged for participating actively. Okay, and this also enhances their commitment and motivation, and you develop a very risk-aware management culture. Now, as I've said, the last part, well, not really the last, but somewhere along the risk management process is communicating the risk. This is a process where we provide concise, comprehensible, or understandable information, information that are credible. And of course, this is our basis for us to make effective decisions regarding the risk. Why is that? Because we need to exchange information among interested parties internally and externally. Our purpose, of course, why are we communicating risk to all stakeholders is for all of us to be um, informed of decisions where we can mitigate the effects of negative risk, a threat, or hazards such as disease outbreak, or maybe unsafe acts that needs to be corrected randomly, and then we can take protective and preventive measures. And also another purpose of this is for people to be uh, become made aware, and in terms of managing the risks, they can understand it very well. So messages is very important to be translated and to be managed where you have different audiences as well. And now I'm coming into the last few slides. When we talk about risks, let's not wait for the risk to end up in crisis. Okay? Because when it becomes a crisis, it means that things have already gone wrong. All right? Risk communication is dealing with things which may go wrong. That's why we communicate the risk. All right? So, if we are so engaged with our frontline people, that is more beneficial to the organization. We just don't rely on the mediators from us as managers to the people down below us. Yes, indeed, we can get the feedback from our safety supervisors, safety officers, as risk managers, but you need to find out because sometimes um, the message don't get completely um, delivered to the recipient of the message. So if you know the environment of the frontliners, it becomes easy for you to understand the environment of your officers. Okay? So I'm not trying to say that you don't trust your safety officers, but what is important is both of them, the officers and those dealing with the frontliners for the implementation of risk and safety, you need to be engaged with these people as decision makers, because at times an emergency may happen, and emergency preparedness and response is very important. How would you picture out if you are aware of the status of current plans from the management level to the frontliners if you do not know what's inside the plan? And of course, if you have not been participating in drills and exercises, and what's the training status of people down below, and of course the availability of alternate sources for your supplies, like for example, if you are managing 50 workers, and then how many safety officers are assigned to look after them? If there are 20 people who were reported to have been involved in, let's say, for example, in an illness as a result of environmental risk, then how would you manage these people? Then that may become an emergency, and you should know where to get the manpower supply. And of course, your response readiness in terms of how are you able to afford the internal response by through your preparation, And then much more, are you particular with the external stakeholders in terms of emergency preparedness? So are you in your locality? Do you know where's the nearest ambulance service? Do you know where's the nearest police station? If you need to report to the nearest police station, do you know their contact information? So these are sort of emergency preparedness and response that you need to look also as leaders in integrated management system. And why is it important? Because in an emergency, risk can also arise, and emergency risk management is really very important for you um, to exercise, as it may result to financial losses, business downtime, and also displaced and uninformed persons. It will add clarity to event response, and of course, this will help you bring back to normal life promptly. And as leaders in the integrated management system, when an emergency happens, what do you need to do? You need to identify, evaluate, and prioritize potential threats within the occurrence of the risk that has resulted into an emergency. Of course, you must have an established procedures that can be readily implemented, and notification of people is very critical, especially for time-sensitive events, like for example, release an unnecessary release of toxic gas, or maybe what to call this, a group of people who've been hired from another country and were not acclimatized for a period of time, and suddenly you put them and they got shocked by the temperature in the middle of the day, and all of them, they suffered from heat stress, extreme heat stress. What will you do? So of course you need to look at your business continuity strategies. So that's how important emergency risk management is all about in terms of IMS leadership. All right, so that ends my presentation, and let me just cite here one quote from Peter Drucker, one management guru, where he said that a decision does not that involve risk probably is not a decision. So let me ask you this question. Was there a point in your being a manager that you made a decision, but your decision was poorly made because you were thinking of the risk? So just remember that in every decision that we make, there's always a risk. But in terms of decision making, damn if you do, damn if you don't decide. Okay? So I will see if you have some questions. Otherwise, let me update you with what's happening in the branch. This is our current status as of April 2024. Thank you, Julie, for providing us with this information. Here in Qatar branch, um, our status is that we have 3 associate members, and then we have specialist and combined member 71, and we have 14 fellows. This is not to include the count those who are outside of Qatar. Um, we used to have more than this, but during the COVID, a number of them has already left the country, and we were not able to trace if they have renewed their membership. So for now, as of 2024 April, this is the status of our membership. And next meeting presentations by July, Mr. Saif Sheldan, one of our active members, will be presenting. We will announce the title of his presentation next meeting. And by August, we have an invited guest in the person of Mr. Joseph Stanley. He already confirmed. And then also we're encouraging you to prepare bite-sized presentation, some sort of lessons learned from any event in your workplace, or any information that may seem to be new to us. Then let us know so that we can put you on board, and you can present a bite-sized presentation. And by the way, looking at my archives, by December of this year, Qatar branch is turning 10 years already of its existence. So we do not know yet what's the plan, but we will see to it that we commemorate, or we celebrate the 10th anniversary as Qatar branch of IRSM. All right. So any question, any insight from that presentation? Ahmed Al-Balusi, thank you for the great presentation. My pleasure, Ahmed, for your compliments. If there's no question, guys, let me just stop sharing, and then perhaps we can show our faces and we can have a group photo, or you can just capture it, you can snip it, and you can document this meeting. We have quite a good attendance today. Earlier there were 22 of us. I think some of them have already left. So let me just snip this so we can have our documentation. Oh, by the way, our former chairman is here, Dipo Ravi Kumar. Dips, any message?
Hi, good evening, Leo.
Good evening. Yeah,
How are you?
we're good. We're good. Any message for tonight's meeting?
Nothing, Leo. It was a great presentation. Actually, I was looking forward. In coming days, we can plan for hybrid meeting as well. If those who wish to come for face to face, same like old days, we can plan. I believe next month meeting we can plan something like that hybrid. When safe, deliver the section. So those who wish to attend online, they can attend online. Those who like to come face to face, they can come face to face as well.
Yeah, we are really we're rearing for face-to-face meeting because we missed everyone, and so by the way, the reason why our past chairman is in the position to mention about face-to-face meeting because he is one of the big boss of Vibrant, and Vibrant has been our sponsor, our very good friend. So they have the venue, and so. We will see. If some of you, please let us know if you are interested to attend the meeting face to face so that we can schedule a hybrid meeting. We would really love to see each other again physically. And so please let us know so we can decide if by next month, July, we can have our hybrid meeting. So guys, I'm looking forward to having you with us on a face-to-face meeting so we can see each other and we can have again our mini reunion and to prepare for December anniversary. So let me just snip our uh, meeting so I can capture this and put this in our documentation. There you go. So guys, thank you so much for attending. And if you don't have any question, that's it for tonight. Thank you, Julie, for facilitating the meeting. And again, I'm encouraging everyone, please let us know in the WhatsApp group any topic that you want to be presented, or you have someone, or you may be interested to present a topic. So please do. And also, even if it's just a 10-minute presentation, we will call it bite-sized presentation. We would love to have you with us. And you know very well that this is my second time to become the chairman, and I'm looking forward, me and Dipo are looking forward to having a new blood to lead the organization, and we will be your grandfather behind you. So please step forward. We will mentor you. We will coach you to become the leader of IRSM Qatar branch. And by the way, thank you, um, our friend Carlito and Rolando from Saudi and UAE, and also Amin for joining us tonight. So that's it, folks. See you again next meeting. And Ahmed, if you are not a part of the WhatsApp group, you can send me email, leo.dote@yahoo.com, or with my mobile number 55606495. Let me know, and I will add you in the group. As long as I have your numbers, I can add you in the WhatsApp group. So once again, thank you for your participation. Thank you for those who've raised questions and insights. Keep safe, everyone, and we'll see you again next meeting. And I'm expecting that some of you will step forward to give a bite-sized presentation. Bye-bye for now.